What's going on, everybody? Happy Wednesday, happy Wednesday. All right. We don't own the rights to this music. We don't own the rights to this music. Happy Wednesday, everybody. Hope y'all enjoying y'all Wednesday. Hope y'all had a blessed Wednesday. I didn't want to blast the music too loud because, I got the gyro on. So you see the topic today. The topic is toxic FARS. Ooh, what is FARS? We'll get into that a little bit later. I just made something up for you guys, but we'll get into it. Hope y'all having a great Wednesday. Thanks for tuning in on Marriage Porn Instagram. Thank you for tuning in also through Zoom, YouTube. YouTube got a little bit of lag on it, but it's okay. We'll get it right. We'll get it right. So as the wife is getting prepared to come into the session, which she's kind of going to be caught off guard a little bit because I got a little bit of notes on this one right here. And she had a doctor's appointment, so she's feeling okay. She's all right. But I know she'll bring her energy when she come in. I give her that good vibe. She'll vibe off of me a little bit. Maybe it'll make her feel a little bit better, right? Transfer my energy to my wife where she gets ready. But yeah, guys, I hope y'all had a great Wednesday. Wherever you checking in from, go ahead and put that on the chat. You checking in, we're definitely right here in the ATL. So we're gonna get into this topic just a little bit in a little bit. Again, I don't own the rights to this music. This is gonna be a great topic to talk about because I know this could be affecting your marriage and this could be conflicting with your marriage, right? So, toxic FARS, right? And what FARS is, I'm gonna go ahead and just explain to y'all, right? So, toxic FARS it's the acronym for toxic friends, associate, right here. What you looking for? Oh. No, fine. Toxic friends, associates, relatives, and spouse. Right? So, with that said, we're going to get into this in just a second. Wifey's on the way. I don't want to wait for her, for us to get started in this because, I love having my counterpartner to have a great discussion about this. And she really can relate to this topic just because of the fact that this happened to us numerous of times in our relationship. And that's what I like to tell you guys about, how this happened numerous of times. And then she'll say something like, see how they got us arguing? See how they got us conflicting? Let's see, should I move this over a little bit, baby? She'll say something to that extent. See how we let that little bit of disagreement that we had cause some type of riffraff in our relationship or disagreement. Now we both arguing, right? And they ain't even dealing with it. And we dealing with the consequences of arguing with each other because of something that we didn't discuss that done spilled over into our relationship and we don't agree on. Now we the big subject. We the big topic, right?
Toxic what?
But FARS. FARS. And so would I put that because the reason I said FARS because the acronym is for friends, associate, relatives, and spouse. Now put toxic FARS because this is something, if they're that toxic, you want to keep them far away. No. Yeah, I would just keep now a little funny little acronym for it. And I have a couple of notes that I went over. Doing your short real quick.
Yeah, my makeup was in the heart.
She got the hair, but I gave you had a little power nap, right? A little 2-minute power nap. Get it back right. Yes, he is. So look at you. So beautiful. Oh, you smelling good. Oh, you got on the Jimmy Choo Choo.
Am I gonna get some?
Look at that. Look at that.
That will make me feel better.
Her number one thing right there, right? You got the Jimmy Choo Choo. What that mean? You want the chewing on the Beaver Ruin.
Really?
Looking for the chewing on Beaver Ruin.
Brandon knows how to make me feel better. Just mention anything with your tongue and I'm good to go.
Look at that. That wife is something else.
It gets me excited and happy. That's all. It makes my day. Anyways, that's my girl Carol G from Medellin. She lit. She just did a video with Shakira too. Ooh, baddie. Look at this baddie, Carol G. Ooh, she is the bomb.com. Anyways, that's my girl, Chimba Chimba.
All right. You ready? You ready to get into this thing?
I'm just here listening.
Okay. You know what? I love it when she's here because this is how I get her involved into this conversation, right?
Just back a little bit. You're like all up in it.
I'm all up in it. You want me to slide back like that? Am I good now?
Yeah.
Okay.
Because your forehead look funny.
All right. There we go.
It's shiny.
Shiny.
Yeah, you put oil?
No, I didn't put no oil. Okay. So let's go over.
I don't know what he's talking about, y'all. Just want to let you guys know that he did all this on his own today. I'm so proud of him.
Yes, she is.
So proud.
So let's go over it. Like I said, we're on Facebook right here on Jen's Facebook. It's called Toxic FARS. I don't know if you put the topic on there.
Yeah, put toxic FARS in.
All right. So toxic FARS is toxic.
FARS, like that's so funny.
It is funny. Friends, associates, relatives, and spouse, right? Now let's just go over the definition of toxic. Start this call off with, right? So the first definition, what are you doing? Oh, was it on? Yeah. Oh, okay. So, is that? Oh, it's already written. Okay, so just with the first definition of toxic, right? Maybe you out of this camera view right here. So toxic, being poisonous, right? So it's just moving, so it's got the lag.
I'm already here though. I'm trying to make sure I'm in there. See,
there you go.
This camera.
Okay.
There we go. Scoot that away. Okay, go ahead. I'll fix it.
So the first definition is being poisonous. Fix it which way?
That one.
To the right.
To you, yeah. See, because it's looking at all my belly right there.
All right. So being poisonous, right? The capability of causing serious death or debilitation. That's one definition of toxic, right? So I want to go over these because I want to see how this can correlate with your friends and your associates and your relatives and spouse. The second one is inhibiting symptoms of infection.
Exhibiting.
That's what I said. Infection, right? The third one is extremely harsh malicious, and harmful, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then the last one, the fourth one, is relating to being an asset that has lost so much value that it cannot be restored.
So which one are we going to talk about?
So we're just going to go over,
Remember, my legs are cramping a lot tonight.
So how can a friend,
These right here?
yes, how can a friend, which one you see more correlating with just a friend, associate, or relative or spouse?
I think that's extremely harsh, malicious, or harmful.
Right. That's the one you resonate with?
Yeah.
Okay. And
or even poisonous.
that's the one I
Because
kind of,
poisonous is like, and it's like if you eat some, like if let's say you touch a leaf. What's that leaf?
poison ivy.
Yeah, it's like you touch it, and it could be like the smallest touch, but it goes all over your body.
And creates
Bad, ugly looking things.
a rash.
Yeah. So I'm talking like with this, it could be just you can have that 1 3 second conversation with somebody, and it could be deadly.
Right. So I'm gonna go with a friend, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I said, as far as a friend, how can a friend be really toxic and this can be affecting your marriage, right?
Uh-oh. Jesus is back.
Exactly.
Jesus
So
is back.
I said they could be a bad influence. And how could that friend be a bad influence in your marriage? What ways you see a friend being a bad influence in your marriage that is toxic?
So
Go ahead.
is it like a married friend or not, or what? Like what type of friend we talking
Either
about?
or, married or.
Well, I think there's two different types. I think there's that single friend that is way too over the top, living his best life, being a thought,
Being single.
being more than single.
Mm-hmm.
Because they're single, and then there's more than single.
Yeah.
That's I don't, and you could be with a single friend, but you're not with the more than single friend. Because the more than single friend might want to include you in these extracurricular activities.
Correct.
And I think the thoughts and the words that maybe he or she might say to you can maybe get the spouse in a different level that he or she wouldn't normally be on. So, for example, if like the Vegas thing you do, right, and it's a single friend that wants to sleep around the whole weekend, and you're just there watching, you might, I'm not saying you will, but now you're around that, and it can cause more temptation. You might get involved one night, not even realize it. Like it could just influence things that you normally wouldn't kind of get involved in. That's like the single bad friend.
Right.
And even if it's not a trip, it could just be, let's say someone at the job could be like, man, I smashed this chick today.
We're gonna go to associate next, but just a friend right now.
Well, what's the difference between friends?
Because associates, like you see somebody at a job that you
okay.
But as far as a friend being a bad influence, right? And the same vice versa for the women, right? You might have that girlfriend
that's sleeping around, and you're like, don't even want to hear it,
or want to go to the club, and she's using you as. So
I was in this situation because that's why you smile.
As a third wheel, as a wingman.
I was
as a wing woman.
I've been in some of these cases where Brandon used to be like, you don't even need to be going. Like, she just wants you to go, because lots of times, and this would be the uncomfortable part, was she's the single one, but I'm not. But the dudes will come in a lot of times, not just only me, but most times try to talk to me. And I'm like, well, my friend, she's right here. She's available. But they're like, well, what about you? Or they'll see my ring. And Brandon used to be like, maybe that's not the best scenario that you kind of put yourself in. And then now you and your friends start going through it. And then now you and your spouse start arguing. So you just got to be careful. And especially like the influence of going out a lot. Like, hey, girl, let's go out this weekend. Hey, there's a game. Let's go out this weekend. Hey, let's do, it's your birthday. Hey, it's girls' night. Hey, it's this. Next thing you know, you don't went out 3 times that month. Forgot about your whole husband and kids. It's just not good.
And that's another thing.
Now it starts causing friction with us.
And you know what? That's the main thing I put with a friend. the friend really
And they don't
comes.
gotta be a single friend. There'd be married friends out there that want to go out all the time because maybe
There's wife or spouse don't care. Their husband don't care how they hang out.
and well, I don't want to say that they don't care.
But
They're just in a different place.
Yeah.
That maybe they're challenged on going out together. Maybe they don't like hanging out together. Maybe they're just in a bad space, or even if they're in a good space, the husband likes to be social or the wife likes to be social, and vice versa.
Or they might be in that type of open marriage relationship where, oh, he can do what he wants, I'm fine with it,
That's a lie.
That right?
That's a lie. There's no such thing. I don't care if you're good or bad as a wife, you're gonna be like, oh, he can go out every weekend or all the time, and I'm just home.
What about certain hangout spots? Like certain hangout
like
spots.
no strip clubs. We're not doing that.
Right.
Unless I'm there.
Unless
I'm there, we're not doing the strip club.
And so she's okay with him going to the strip club.
Who is?
The other wife of the friend.
She's lying. She's a lie.
This is
no.
So if she's allowing that, then
what is she doing?
Okay, I was just going to ask
they
that.
both doing their thing. So that's not even a marriage.
Right.
Like some of these relationships out here, and I'm not judging. I'm just saying sometimes we have to really define what is the marriage.
Or what about this? What about at a bar, right? Mm-hmm. But staying at a bar till like 2:30, 3:00. She knows where I'm at.
I don't know. What do you think? Well, what do we do about that?
Do you think
you don't really like not to put Brandon on blast like that, not to be funny, because I know someone's gonna be like, he does want to stay out, but you just don't let him. No, pause, because actually I don't even mind as long as he comes home and gives me some. Like, let's just be real with it. And he's clean, because I'm not saying he's doing this, but if there's guys out there that are creeping, you want to make sure they're clean. But in communication, Brandon knows that you're just communicating with me, even if it's a text, 12, 1 o'clock, or like, come on, you go to the bathroom, guys. You can text your wife.
So that's where I came in with the friend.
What do you think about that?
Like I said, as long as you communicating.
Not no going to eat afterwards and coming home at 4 o'clock. Like if you plan to go to eat after the hangout, you need to leave at 12. And then go eat and then come home at 2. Not no leave at 2 and then come home at 4.
Yeah.
Like we're not doing that. Because like my grandma used to say, the only thing happening after, she really used to be like 12, 1 o'clock, is them legs being spread somewhere in the streets. My grandma used to say just like that. So that's not happening.
So
well, what do you feel?
What I feel about coming late?
Yeah.
Well, I think there is a time restriction, and I'm not saying that,
it's not no curfew or nothing.
It's not no curfew. It's just I feel that you should be respectable.
Respectful.
Right. And respectful in the time that you come home to your spouse, even though you go out and have a good time. Now, if you're out there hanging and it's a guy's trip, whatever, that's
a little
different situation. But if you going out and you left your wife, and that's another thing.
Even though, and don't get it twisted, when Brandon made his trips, I still tell him to call me after. I don't care what time it is, even if it's Vegas time, Cali time, Alaska time, Europe, I don't care where he's at. After the fact, call me regardless. Matter of fact, videotape me. I'm that wife. Yep, sure am. And I'll be like, hey guys, sleep in the background. That's me. Cause I don't know. I'm not saying I don't trust Brandon, but I don't know, man. Out of town scenario. And then depending who he's with, nah.
It's like this. So if you keep a good open communication, then I feel that it's fine, But the main thing what I put with a friend is bad influence and certain types of hangout spots. And that's the thing
and where outfits. Yep, I said it.
Well, yeah.
When Brandon goes out,
especially no, it's more of the women.
No, when Brandon, especially if he's out of town and listen. Let me tell y'all, man.
Oh, I'm gonna be nice when I'm dressed up, regardless.
This is one rule when you're about to go out and you're not with your wife on a trip.
See, this is the restriction part.
This is the rule, right?
It's no
if
rule.
You're about to go out with your guys on the guy trip, it's fine, great. Of course, that's the point. Do not capital, like in capital. post a picture of how good you look without your wife seeing your outfit first. That's a big no-no.
Oh, without seeing it first.
Yes.
Okay.
He's forgotten sometimes, and I'll be like, oh, let me see Instagram, and it's like, oh, that's my husband, looking fine, and his dingling all out, and I didn't even get the picture, I didn't get the video. I real quick message him like, Matt, no, I had called, forget the message. I'm like, dude, you wearing those pants tonight?
Yeah, I'm wearing those pants.
He wear, and that's a rule number 2. We need to have these rules on his strips, guys.
No.
Okay. Rule number 2, for the husbands, you guys cannot be going out with your things all out.
Nobody had any things out.
You know, husband, stop it. You know what pants makes your thing look very out, especially if you packing. Because if you don't got nothing to show, then it's different. But I'm grateful for my husband, and I'm grateful God gave him some good stuff. So when he puts and Brendan knows, it's certain pants that he knows that because he'd be like, "Ooh, what do you think, babe?"
No,
he does all that.
No,
Like,
listen,
I'm very not taking those.
Listen, I could take those pants.
It's like if I go out with the what do you call them?
Camel toe.
Them pants that you'd be like, "Nah, we're not wearing that."
Right, so look, especially
Anyways.
women, y'all can wear them shorts, and I don't even know dresses. But anyway, so the main thing is how this becomes toxic. How this become toxic in your relationship. And I said mainly with the friends is the hangout. And this is the one thing that happens.
Especially the single one when you go out, because he wants to show out his thing more. The married one doesn't as much because the wife, But anyways, go ahead. It's
mainly the hangout. And why I say the hangout is because you get to that point of you might be hanging out with your boys or you might be hanging out with your girls. And then this is where the complications, when you don't call or communicate.
Or the hangout is a girl hangout spot.
Yeah, so
like this is the spot where it's like 3 guys at the bar and like 15 women.
Yeah, so it's
especially Atlanta.
It's the communication, right? And you like, oh, junk, I forgot to call, or you didn't call, and just be aware of certain things. That's why I said, it's mainly the hangout when it comes to friends. And so long as you communicate, I think that right there, you can avoid that toxic situation. Because when you don't call or you don't communicate, now you and your spouse are arguing over the phone or when you get home. And
now you're not getting on.
That night done turned into something extra than it was supposed to be, right? So that's the one thing that I'll say right there. And that's when friends can be a bad influence.
Well, what about the friends, the bad influence with the type of conversations?
Well, that's what I'm going to get into with next, because I didn't want to put that all on the friends, right?
Why not? That's the main one.
I know that they have that, but I'd rather move on to associates.
Because friends don't have inappropriate conversations?
Not saying that, but I think associates bring up those type of conversations.
Well, maybe for guys, because it's different for women.
Yeah. Okay.
Associate is not going to just randomly talk about some dude's D. The friends, single, maybe more friends, or even a married one that is going through an issue, you might get more explicitness. Mm-hmm. So why do y'all do acquaintance and not friends? I don't think so.
Well, because see, I feel like associates don't really have any ties to the conversation, so they'll talk about anything.
Maybe that's just your people.
So I said to talk about.
And maybe they think they're your friend and you're categorizing them as associates.
All right, so this is what I said. They'll talk about certain topics that brings no value into your life. And then they'll trick you by asking you an opinion and then flip the conversation.
Explain, because give me a life scenario.
Okay, so, they might say something like, they'll bring up something like, do you and your wife have one bank account together? And they're like, well, I think it should be 50-50.
Oh, you're talking about that type.
Yeah. And you're like,
they're giving the 3 cents as they're not even married.
Yeah. And they're like, well, I think it should be 50-50. And you're like, well, no, I think it should be one account. And they're like, well, whatever you bring into the relationship. Now they're kind of playing like devil's advocate to the conversation. Mm-hmm. And so now sometimes you might get tricked to playing into the role of a conversation that's not bringing no value. Or they might say something in the extent of, yes, baby. They might say something in the extent of, well, why you gotta ask your wife, can you go here? Or why you gotta, and now, you know what I'm saying?
Good ones.
Those be good ones. And then you start thinking to yourself, like, hold up. You get back to like thinking, and you're like, man, maybe I should, you know. I did want to buy some shoes. Why? Some shoes.
Yeah, and then next thing you know, you're buying the shoes the next day. Yeah. And now it cost the whole.
And now what happens with associates, they flip the conversation to make you feel that you're entitled to whatever. You know, and that's even hanging out or going out with the associates. Hey, all the people at the work, we're going to, you know, to have lunch on Friday. You coming? You know what I'm saying? You know how those work lunches go on Fridays, or
Brandon be like, I really don't want to go, but I'm gonna say no.
You know how those work lunches go on Friday, or that happy hour. Hey man, we're going to happy hour after work. You know what I'm saying? You coming? The wife say you could come. You know what I'm saying? Your husband be cool with that. But then that after hour turns into an after hour.
Next thing you know, I'm home till 7 o'clock and I'm dealing with the kids and my son and we have a whole argument. Then you feeling nice, so now I'm more mad.
Yeah. So, you know, that can be some toxic, and that can be infected, right? That can be an infectious symptom that brings that type of topic. You got your elbow just covering up my head on this one. But you bringing that type of infection energy into your relationship, right? And that's like really bad that, you know, now you got outside people that don't even know what's going on, the dynamics of your marriage or your relationship. And they're bringing stuff like that into your marriage, you know? And now you're questioning certain things in your marriage.
Then that's when your spouse is like, we wasn't even arguing about this forever. Now all of a sudden you want to bring this up. So and so must have told you something.
Or
because we be knowing, man.
Or for women, this associate right here. Girl, my man did this and da 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 da. And then you bring it home like, hey, have you ever you question me about the situation she got going on in her house? And I'm like, nah, and you like, you sure you have it? And now you doubting me because she's like, well, her man said every man does that. Every man, you know, does something that they don't tell their wife or do this. And he's like, do you do that? And now I'm like, no. And then you like, no, so you haven't never? And so now that associate then brought something into our household from your job.
Or friend, I think it's my friends, but okay.
And now we arguing about something that has nothing to do with our relationship.
I just be ignoring Brandon sometimes when he comes in with that stuff now. I just be like, Brandon, we was not even talking about this. Ain't nobody got time for that.
So, you know, that's one thing about, you know, having toxic people. How do you combat, or how do you not get involved in these type of situations, even though they might be your friend or they might be an associate? How do you not get involved into that?
Well, I've gotten to the point that I'm really direct with people now on certain scenarios that normally I would be like, yeah, sure. Now I'm just like, girl, you tripping. Brandon would not be having that nonsense. And that's it. Shut it down.
And so then you might try to shut it down, but they keep going on about it.
That's not happening.
You can shut something down and like, girl, you don't believe that, do you? And they got you questioning yourself, you know what I'm saying?
I had a scenario like that. This was, I think maybe years ago, months ago, I don't know. Somebody said something about like you going out or something. And I was like, Brandon likes to chill at the crib. And they were like, and it was a female, so wife. And there, I think it was a few or maybe one, I don't know. They were like, well, he's a dude, he wants to go out with his guys and he wants to do this. And I was like, yeah, but B kind of likes to be home. Like he's a homebody. Like he's okay with not turning up every weekend or every month or whatever. And they're like, well, make sure that it's not just you not let him. And I was like, remember I asked you one time?
Mhm.
And I was like, babe, you can go out, right? I was like, you can like hang out and stuff. And you were like, yeah, no, I'm good though. Like, so I kind of left that alone, but then it was brought up again, I think later on. And they were like, yeah, maybe he does want to go out, or maybe this, or because I brought up a scenario about your friend asking you to go out, and you kind of was like, I'm not too sure. And then you were like, sure, why not? So then at that time, my friend was like, see, maybe he did want to go. And I was like, no, I don't think it's that. But it is what it is. And I was like, and at the end of the day, my husband doesn't mind being at home hanging out with his wife. Because I said that because it's a scenario where certain spouses don't realize that maybe their spouse does not like to be home and hang with them. Like their hangout is to get away from the house. Just being real, because some wives are annoying, or like I used to be nagging and used to not want to be here. Some females are still like that, and the husband is like, I need to get away. I'm going out with my guys.
Yeah, and I agree with that. At times, sometimes you want to go away and hang out with your guys and your boys, and not vent, but just
Just have guy talk.
just have guy talk.
But it's very seldom when you're at a happy home with a comfortable spouse. Like, remember we talked about this a while ago. We were watching a movie or something, and I was like, is it bad that we just watch movies together all the time and don't go out with our friends? Remember we were
Mhm.
and you were like, no, like, because we chilling, like we have good company. And this is before pregnancy. So like we can even have drinks, we can play games. And we enjoy each other's company. We enjoy laughing and having fun. Not to say that you don't need friends, but it
Yeah.
doesn't have to be an scapegoat every month, every weekend, every time, But
So I'm gonna get into these
you got to move the toxic information out your face.
Yeah. So me, the way I use it, as far as friends and associate, I divert the conversation, or I put it into a positive type of conversation.
Oh, no, well, I know before there was a time you mentioned to a friend it was like not a nice scenario, and you kind of was just straight, I guess you got upset. Well, not upset, I guess you got, I think annoyed that it was just kept being a topic.
Mhm.
And you were like, nah, that's messed up. Like, you don't do that to your wife. Like, that's kind of messed up.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
you just told your friend, like, or acquaintance, whatever you want to call
Yeah.
him, and you just kind of was like, no, that's kind of messed up. That's your wife. Like, that should be. And you kind of got into, maybe that's how you diverted it. You kind of got into the value of the wife and the relationship and the growth. And you were like, you need to have that, because I guess they at the time they don't, or they didn't, or whatever, for them to understand what you were saying.
Yeah. So usually when I come
You look very
across
comfortable.
when I usually when I come across like something negative like that, I try to look for the positive in every negative situation or negative conversation. I try to look for, something that brings value. And I'm at the point where I'm not talking about something that's really not bringing no value to my life. I don't really want to hear nothing
Yeah, and it's good
that's
that
not bringing any value to my life, because it's like nonsense. You know what I mean? It's like I'm entertaining something, and it's kind of like what you guys, everybody do. Like when you scroll on Facebook or Instagram for so long, after a while, it's just nonsense.
well, you also kind of got to the point where you like you said, you diverted in the
Into
sense of like, okay, so if you're not feeling my response, why are you not feeling my response?
yeah,
Like, because I know I had somebody tell me a while ago, oh, you just don't really understand because you and Brandon are in a good space right now. And I was like, what is that supposed to mean? And they were like, well, you only see the good and the positive and the happy and the love and all that part of it. You're not really seeing the negative and the toxic and this and that. And I was like, well, we've been through it. Oh, not that exact situation who I was talking to, but we've been through a time that we were not and that where we are right now. So that part kind of was like, why, like, why would you?
And it was times early,
You get what I'm saying?
yeah, it was times early in our relationship where I didn't want to be around you. I was ready to
But that's
go.
what I'm saying. So
It-
for people to see now,
It's
kind of
just,
to be like, oh, y'all just in a lovey-dovey space. Y'all don't get it.
and it's like this too. Even I can still have my space and be in the same house with her now. See, before I had to get out of here. You know what I'm saying? And I had
It's
to
the same
leave.
house.
Yeah, I had to leave. But we grown to the point where I could be in my part of the house and she could be in her part of the house and we'd get over it. You know what I mean? And
Oh,
that,
and we still, and listen, don't get it twisted. Like, we tell each other. Like I told him, was it today? Yesterday, the other day. I was like, I'm not dealing with you today. Like, I don't get out of my face. Like, I don't like, because if not, I'll be really rude and I have an attitude, and I'm not the nicest.
and that's the thing. Another reason that, as far as me like really hanging out is I value my
You gotta get in
I value my marriage and my family life so much.
there.
To me.
Yeah. Well, you always did.
Yeah,
But I
but
guess we weren't in this space.
yeah, and it's like it's funny because even when like me and her do trips, I'm the main one worried about the kids.
Well, because he's the main one that's not with them all the time.
And
That's
then
not me.
and then it's like when I go without you, I'm like worried about you, you know what I'm saying? And it's like it's like now it's not that I'm scared to go hang out. It's just that I don't want to be put in any predicaments or situation being out there on the late night watch. Because I used to be out there in the streets all the time, even before we got married. And I know what goes on after a certain hour, you know what I'm saying? And it's not saying that everything bad happens at night, but it's saying that
the darkness, the devil, yes, it does. You know what I mean?
you putting yourself at a lot of risk. And I don't see like putting myself at that type of risk anymore. You know what I mean? That's why I like chilling at the house. I can chill at the house and have a drink and be cool and like,
Brandon will sit here and tell y'all all day the pros and the cons of being at home when it comes to saving money, DUIs, accidents, crimes, temptation. Brandon could give you the whole breakdown.
And actually, I ain't gonna lie, I got stopped not with a DUI, but I got stopped for they tried to get me with a DUI, and guess what? That cost me about $5,000.
That was rough. And I was with him, so that was retarded. And that cost
me $5,000, and then I had to worry about getting harassed by the police at the time. I didn't know if they were gonna beat me up the way they pulled me over and had the dogs on me or whatever. But
I was there.
Those type of situations I try to avoid, you know what I mean? And not be in that situation.
Muscle showing on the video.
But the next thing, the next two, because I want to
let's go next, because my leg. Where we at on time? 30 minutes.
All right. So the next two toxic people.
If y'all just hopping on, where you guys hopping on from? Tell us what you think about toxic relationships around your marriage or relationship. Or do they even exist? Do you have some? Are they still there?
So the next topic person, the toxic person, we're going to relatives. Have you or do you feel like you're married to two people? Huh?
I think this is everyone.
Right? Do you feel like, because I know I feel it sometimes.
There goes Brandon. There he goes.
I feel like I'm married. Sometimes I feel like I could be married to Jen and her mom. Right? And they bring and not
what
saying
Spanish people in the building. Can y'all tap in and help me out here? It's Spanish.
It's like sometimes that energy comes into our household, and I just have to act like
tax some of my Spanish folks.
I have to act like that energy don't even exist, but I know it does, right? It does. So
he's gotten really good at it.
Being involved in that, and it's now that you feel like you have to make two people happy instead of just making your spouse happy.
That's good.
And that brings a lot of toxic into your relationship. And now it turns into a competitive battle between the attention, the emotions, the love, the care, what you do for me, what you do for them. You know,
it's real.
It's real. How does,
especially if you're the only child, it gets rough. I sometimes don't like it. Like I tell Brandon and my mom sometimes, like, I don't like being in the middle. I don't like it. It was a time that I was like, I'm not even talking to none of y'all because there would be so many cases that I would be in the middle with them or my mom or him. I just was like, I'm not doing this.
Or the same thing, vice versa. You know, that's coming from her aspect with the mom, but vice versa with her being an only sibling. Me and my brother, the way me and my brother connect sometimes, or we do certain things, and then it brings like, y'all just planned the whole thing without me, or did a situation without me. Y'all decided to do it without me, and now she's feeling left out. And that used to happen a long time ago. You know, well,
it was rough.
It was especially in the beginning of our marriage. You know what I mean?
But at that time, you also were not as respectful in the sense of your wife and first and priority. And that's when, of course, you first get married. You're still learning boundaries, priorities. You're still like in that stage, and the family's still kind of trying to understand, like, oh, now we have a seat back. Now it's not us. Now
and that deals with, and see, this is the thing, because Jen is the only child. So if you got a brother or a sister, how they feel like
you took them away.
You took them away because you grew up and you've been with them all your life. You grew up with them. You talked to them about everything. And now that you got, you know, a wife or a husband, it's not that y'all lost that connection, but it's like, dang, you got to ask your husband, and now you got to ask your wife. Like,
it's a scenario where you kind of, instead of, oh, let me call my sibling first, is, oh, let me call my wife first. And the sibling and the spouse also have to understand that shift.
Yeah. But sometimes they don't understand. They're like, I'm your brother, I'm your sister. Like, I was there before her. You know? How does that work out?
Nothing.
Or different,
we used to argue, and every now and then, like, I used to listen. It's even, and it's not like it's gone away, but there's scenarios like Brandon said. I'll tell him, like, do you see that we're arguing because of your situation? You haven't noticed that every time we argue is because of this situation? And sometimes he still don't see it, but I'll be like, we're arguing again because of that. Like, we wasn't even discussing this. This wasn't even an argument.
This wasn't in the plans.
That's the worst. I'm like, why? Are you serious? So that's hard because now you have your spouse looking at the sibling in a bad way. And now your spouse, which was me, looking at his sibling in a bad light, because I'm like, dude, every time this person comes around, there's always a situation me and Brandon are arguing about. So I ain't want the person around.
So now it flips. Yeah. Right?
It's real.
It flips. So, you know, you have those relatives that can also get involved. And then you might have that cousin. That's a bad influence.
Sometimes family don't even realize it.
Or, you know,
right?
And you would get around certain family members where
they always got something to say.
They got something to say, or guess what? It takes you back to the old version of you. Right? It takes you back to the old version of you.
That's why you laughing.
Like, it's like you go back to the old you, which when you get with the family, he's like, you know, this is my family. And it's like,
man, or it could be the opposite. Like, I have some cousins and they know when we all be together, they're the ones that bring up the old you.
Yeah.
My cousins do. I'm like, yo, do we have to talk about this? Like, this is my husband. We're married. Like, do we have to get into this conversation about how many bum ass dudes I used to date? Like, do we have to do this? And no, Jen did this and Jen did that. I'm like, okay, are we done? And then don't put drinks in the mix. My cousins would just be going in because they never liked my exes. They like literally none of them, I don't think. They didn't really like them, and they all loved Brandon. So here they go bashing all the scenarios.
Yo, I hate this dude. And I'm like,
And
what
she
dude
did
was
this
this?
and she did that. And I'm like, okay,
Right.
I'm talking.
So, you know.
Toxic cousins. I'll be like, okay, we're done. We're done. Because then now Brandon is like, you're talking about that situation.
Yeah.
What's this person? I'm like, oh my god.
Or bringing up stories that you never heard about your spouse.
Because my cousins would do that.
And you like, oh really? When did this happen? And how did that play out?
That happened to us.
Yeah, you know what I mean?
On
So,
vacation.
so you can have those toxic relatives that play a part into your.
What about those single relationship toxic family members? What
Really?
about those? What about the ones that just got baby daddies, baby mamas, and don't believe in marriage, or just like to be saying funny stuff around you and your spouse, and you're like, oh,
And they don't have no type of spiritual guidance.
nothing. I remember there was a case, we had it with some of B's family, and I think Brandon might be one of the only ones that is with one baby mom / wife. I think. I don't know. We gotta go down the list. Because I know my family is one baby daddy and mama, but they're not married. So, similar cases. So we were at a party and there was a scenario where some of his peoples was like, not for marriage, like anti-marriage and living their best life and having all these times and doing this and doing that and no God and no, it was just a lot of happening. And I'm standing there like, you sure you don't want to get married? Like, why not? It's a great thing. I love your cousin. I love your nephew. Like, why are we doing this? Like, are you serious? Right. No, what happened for you guys? But I can't do that no more. It's too many people out in this world to be living with just one. And I'm like, oh my God, this is really happening. And like even like with your dad, like, and my mom, they're like, nope. Ex-marriage.
Yeah, like
his dad is like, I'm living my best life,
like,
doing what I want.
single.
My mom is like, I don't want no crazy, bad man. Crazy, bad. Oh, why can't it be a good guy? Like,
and that's what I'm saying. So
toxic. So I can't even talk to my mom sometimes
about marriage or
love or private.
Or when she want to do things for me, and she be like, "Why are you doing that for him?" Or or the way she loves on me, she be like,
and say even when I remember one time. That him and his dad, I forgot, he was still talking about something. And he was like, maybe you need to talk to your wife about this or something. It was a while ago. And you brought it up to me and I was like, why would he say that? Like, talk to me about what? I think it was because how I talked or my attitude or how I said something to me, how I came off with the kids, or I don't even remember. And I was like, who's talking to me? Oh. And then I remember when your dad did say something to me one time. I was like, no, that's just the way I talk to do what I do. And just brushed it off because I wasn't going to argue first with his dad. That's not what we do. Two, I'm just not going to bring this argument in our marriage because if he has a problem, Brandon tells me. And he does most of the time. He'll be like, yo, that's not how you do it. But that was the influence. Because I think your dad called you and was like, hey, you need to talk to her about how she did this. And that kind of.
I think it was something with the kids.
I think so. And I don't even know if you did or if you paid any mind. I don't even remember, but it's still an influence. You know what I'm saying? Because now your mind is like, well, maybe I do got to talk about wife. Or maybe just to show off for dad, like, let me do this. Or, so then it becomes a mixed thing.
And then it could be also influence, especially when you're about to get married, if you got those parents that are really into your life, on influence, like, you should have married that other girl. I don't know why you should have married that other dude.
Right.
I don't know what you see in her, or I don't know what you see in him. And why'd you do that? And that was just dumb. And now it's playing with your mind and stuff like that.
Which happened to us too, by the way.
So that happens a lot too, far as relatives being a negative influence that's bringing toxic into your relationship. The last one we want to get into is the negative spouse, the toxic spouse, right?
I think we should talk about a toxic spouse another night because that's a big topic.
They never see.
What? Tell me.
They never see nothing positive in any situation. That's a toxic spouse, right? So with that,
I don't even know if that's a whole other topic.
It is because,
Right, we got 5 minutes to discuss a whole.
it is, but we can go over it a little bit, a little quick. It's just like this. Your spouse, like I said, I talk about this all the time. You should be complimenting each other. Y'all should be competing on your own competitive table.
But here's the catch, Brandon. The catch is, and this is what I get from a lot of people. But what if you're not in a good pace? Like, what if you and your husband are not good? What if you and your wife are not getting along? What if you're just bad, period? And that's one of the reasons why I think this is so good that we talk about these topics, and that one day we'll have our marriage conference like I want to do, because the whole thing of, well, what if you're not good? What if this? What if that? And my thing is, okay, well, what can we do to get you good? Like, what can we do to have these, like you said, not toxic person in my life, and this work on us? You get what I'm saying? Because sometimes we could talk about all these things, but then you have that one spouse that is listening or watching that can be like, I'm changing this because all they talk about is how they love each other. They're so great, everything is fine, but they don't understand how, my wife don't listen, or how my wife don't submit, or how my husband don't, pray with me, or how my husband doesn't want to go to the park. Or so then now they're dismissing the whole topic. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And not realizing one is toxic or both are toxic. And then there's scenarios where they're trying to figure out how to even get the toxicity out of the marriage.
Right.
So that's the scenario. But anyways.
Yeah. So you have these toxic people that are in your life, and either you can learn how to divert.
What if I have one for spouse?
What's that?
That I talked to someone a while ago, and they mentioned to me, which was so good. They mentioned having peace in their life without their spouse. And I was like, wow, that's so good. That's so profound. Because they're married, and she had to take a step back because she wasn't having peace with herself, her life, and things were not that good with them. It was so toxic, and she noticed it. So when she stepped back, and they're separated, right? And I'm like, what do you guys, how's it going? Blah, blah, blah. And she was like, I'm at peace. Like, I like not being in that scenario. And I was like, so then maybe you shouldn't be married.
So they separated, they got a divorce, or
No.
they just separated?
Yeah.
So separation, that's another topic to talk about too. Separation. How do you deal with separation? When is it time to come back?
Write that down.
Yeah.
Yeah, because that's what everything you just asked, I asked them. I was like, so what is the goal? What's the plan? When are y'all, like, is it like getting back? Is it not? Like, what is, you know what I'm saying? Like, what are we doing?
What is the time limit?
And they're like, one wants to come back, the other one doesn't. And guess what? The one that wants to come back is the toxic one. And the one that doesn't is the one that's like at peace, living her best life.
Because you don't want to get full. You don't want to.
That's exactly what happened.
You don't want to get tricked back into getting back into the toxic.
So then what? So then what do you do?
So
like how long? And this is what we should talk about in that scenario. How long is the separation? Because there's people that 2-3 years separated.
Yeah.
And then living separate, like for real. Like, and I'm like, that's not marriage.
But they really got to truly, truly show how much they value
in the process of steps of counseling,
yes,
and togetherness,
yes,
and dating, and
getting back with God, the relationship, a whole bunch of stuff.
And if it's not happening, then like I told my people, it's like the steps are not being done. So this separation is gonna be life.
So the thing about it, if the separation, the steps are not happening, you do have a time limit.
Mm-hmm.
Don't think you're going to be separated for 2 years, right?
And nothing is happening.
Nothing. At the most, and even a year is a long time.
Yeah.
A year is a long time.
Another question: are you even being intimate and having sex with the
yes, right?
Or are they able to go?
If you separated, you're not supposed to be having sex.
Supposedly.
You're not having.
What are you doing?
we not having sex, we getting ourselves together.
Okay, but what are you doing for your sex?
You're not doing nothing.
So you're not even like using your hand.
No,
Why?
because this is a time that,
So you're just not the whole year not supposed to get your
listen, separated.
Okay, we write this down. That's a whole topic.
Yeah,
'Cause a whole year-
separate.
Dude, I'm pulling out all the tricks,
Listen.
toys, or something.
If you want to get back to having that sexual intimacy,
Mm-hmm.
you should be wanting to get back with one person.
And they can't, and you're not supposed to go elsewhere.
No. And this is the thing.
Chime in, my people. Please chime in.
This is the thing. And to get back into the garage, you have to show initiative in taking those steps. Vice versa with the woman. She can't just come
That's why
over
we
there.
can't separate. Give me some real
No,
quick.
see, you can't come up. No, because we're not moving forward.
Someone that at least come
We're
through.
not moving forward.
Well, matter of fact, we'll meet up at a telly just to make it.
Nah, that's not moving forward. That's not moving forward. We still in the same zone.
Well, we're not doing that anyway. So
Exactly. So that would be in the same zone. You're not moving forward. We still being intimate and we separated.
That's true.
You know what I'm saying? We just going back and forth playing these games. The separation is a time to
Heal.
No.
No, you gotta heal.
No, separation is not a time to heal. Separation is a time to decide, are we gonna ride this thing?
Because we need to hold this we gotta go.
Separation is,
legs is cramping up.
are we gonna ride this out together?
Oh, I'm gonna ride it out.
No. Are we gonna make this work? Is it worth making this work? That's what it is.
Do you want to make? Can you write this down? Do you want to make it work? Do you want to make it work? Anyway, so that's it for tonight, y'all. Because my feet is cramping up. We're getting to a whole nother separation topic that it's not. We're talking toxicness, which that led to it because the husband or wife is toxic and you gotta go.
Yeah, you gotta separate.
So negative talk, negative vibes, negative energy.
The way you keep this toxic,
No communication.
Listen, the way you keep this toxic, and this is the ultimate solution.
Did you shave?
Yeah.
I just noticed that.
The way you keep this toxic, and the solution is, for one, number one, you pray about it.
The way you keep it toxic?
Keep this toxic away from you.
Oh, okay.
Number one, you pray about it. Number two, you deal with yourself in a positive attitude and mindset.
Mm-hmm.
You keep a positive. And number three, you always see the positive
in that person,
in the bad things that come with that person.
That's good.
And you bring that out of that person. You make that more powerful than the negative that they bring it into you. You overpower that conversation with positive conversation, and you don't play into the negative situation. You don't play into the negative conversation. So you don't play into the negative influences.
So who's okay, and this is the last thing. So who's the toxic one though in the relationship though? Is it the one that's saying the negative things or the one that's doing the negative things?
It's both. Because if you saying negative stuff and you do it, more likely you act on what you speak.
So like when we were going through it, so when I used to be like, you're not doing this, you're not doing that, you're not doing that, I'm toxic.
Yes.
And then when you used to like not do it and not give a crap, and life was on, and that means you would.
Right, because remember, you can't place blame on nobody until you place blame on yourself. Don't place blame on anybody until you can point the finger at yourself.
That's good.
That's how it goes. That's establishing leadership. That's establishing, being a leader at leading yourself.
We need to do another toxic night for the spouse because there's a lot to discuss and we gotta go. It's 45 minutes and my legs is cramping up.
So I hope y'all had great value. I hope
it was a great topic.
Great topic.
You, Brother Barker.
I hope y'all got some value from this. I hope this, help you out. Like I said, these are some solutions to just get away, or the last thing result, you got to get away from that person.
And you're talking in general.
In general,
Like family, friends,
and
acquaintance.
it's nothing wrong,
Right?
right? And
Family, friends, acquaintance, lover.
yeah,
spouse.
family, no, friends, associates, relatives, spouse.
You gotta get away.
You gotta get away.
Or cut them off.
And that's right. It's nothing wrong with saying, hey, dude,
Girl, bye. I told my mother one day, like, girl, you too negative for me today.
Right.
You gotta go.
Right. It's nothing wrong with telling that person, like, look, I don't feel where you're coming from.
You did that to me.
See, that's what you said. I don't feel where you're coming from. And I'm not gonna feel where you're coming from because I'm not in that space that you're in. So this friendship, I'm gonna have to back off until you bring some positive towards my way, that goodness towards my way, and you got to talk about.
Tried that on me one time.
And then
you want to be negative, you're like, yes, you are.
And then we can go back to the way things are. Well, like I said, I hope this brought value to you guys. Thank y'all for tuning in. It is getting kind of late for the wifey. Her leg turned.
I need a nap.
Yeah. So
I'll be up at what time? Midnight? 1 o'clock?
What should we do for that?
Make some money.
So thank you guys again for tuning in. Follow us on Marriage Porn on Instagram, marriagep.o.r.n. Pure, open, renew, and navigate, guys. Thank you again. Follow us on YouTube. You can look at the QR code if you're on me or Jennifer page. We have our QR code up with the description of different topics. I will be reposting this also on my Facebook, and Jen will have it on her Facebook as well, so you can rewatch this again if this brings any value to you guys. Hopefully it do. Hopefully it does bring value to your marriage, to your relationship, understanding how to keep them toxic people out of your life. So you want me praying out, or you want?
Because it does go into your marriage. I want you to understand the goal of tonight was that Brandon was talking about is toxic. What is it?
Toxicity.
Toxicity can go and linger and can break the spirit in the marriage. Like for real.
Yeah.
Positive or negative. So you can take the person out, be positive, or go along with it. Now it's influencing your marriage and it's no bueno.
Right.
Because let's go pray.
What's that? That's a lot of stuff again. Okay.
Yeah, some apps.
Yeah. All right. You want me to pray something?
I'm gonna pray. Really, 1, 2, 3, because you did last time, right?
Yeah.
Okay, Father God, thank you for this great call. Thank you for Brandon's wisdom. Thank you for guiding us tonight, speaking through us and to us for others. That if any marriages or relationships are struggling out there with any toxicness around them or with them or near them, that you help them out and bring more positive in their lives, that you bring marriages together, that you empower them. If anyone needs help, that you're able to guide them and talk to them, Lord. Protect us, cover us. May we have a blessed night and a blessed week. In Jesus' name I pray, amen.
Amen.
Good night, y'all.